I'm here today with Joseph Wright of Frankie Scott USA Clothing Company, all USA made. And Joseph is the founder and president of Frankie Scott, and his website, I'm just going to throw it out there because I'm already reading it, frankiescottusa.com. And now, Joe, I understand that you started your own company because you had like a thought, a little patriotic motivation. You said to yourself one day, I like t-shirts. They're not, but why is it that the patriotic shirts aren't made in America? So if you could, just tell us a little bit about what you do, why you're doing it, and then of course your charitable donation organization that you have.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me, Tim. In the summer of 2012, I went into a large, worldly known retailer, and I won't say the name, but you can substitute it for a large span of land. It's a three-letter word and ends in P and starts in G. But anyway, they're famous for having a 4th of July t-shirt. And I went to buy one day, and I looked to see where it was made. It was made in India. And I put it back on the shelf. I've worked in the screen printing business and in textile industry for the past 5 years. So it's really a head scratcher. And then that same summer in 2012 was the whole Ralph Lauren USA Olympic clothing debacle, where Ralph Lauren designed all the warm-up outfits for the USA athletes, and he had it sourced to China. So it was a real head scratcher, but very enlightening at the same time. So working in the industry, I thought to myself, there's got to be a way that you can produce patriotic clothing with the U.S. flag that's actually made in the United States. Granted, probably 95% of the garments out there are made overseas. The United States is still the largest producing cotton making country in the world, but when it comes to the cutting, the sewing, the dyeing, that all gets outsourced and it comes back. But there are actually a few mills still in the United States that you can work with. So knowing that and working with the industry, I thought that there was a need for American-made patriotic clothing. And I did some research, and a lot of the clothing out there that was quote-unquote patriotic was a lot of bald eagles on black shirts. And there's nothing wrong with a bald eagle, and there's nothing wrong with black shirts, but as a guy in his late 30s, I thought, you know what? I want to make something that's patriotic that you can wear every day because we're American every day, and you should be able to represent that every day. And a lot of the patriotic clothing that you see, you wear it around the 4th of July, you stick it in your drawer, and you bust it out again the next 4th of July. So it didn't take long for me to come up with the name Frankie Scott. I studied political science and history at Canisius College, so definitely a political and history kind of animal. And I thought of some historical figures, and I thought of Francis Scott Key. So Frankie Scott is really just a play on Francis Scott Key, who, as we know, wrote the Star-Spangled Banner in 1814 during the Battle of Baltimore for the War of 1812. So
Funny that
they were just talking about the War of 1812. Yeah. So I was kind of chuckling over there as I was hearing the gentleman talking about that.
I got to throw one more in there.
Sure.
So for my history buffs, I know the truth about your little spy walking around with the cows from our general back to Canada. Because you know who told me? The Canadians. And you know what I'm talking about. Go ahead. It's all yours now.
Sure. So I launched back in the fall of 2013, and I quit my job in the screen printing industry. I'd been working as a salesperson for a company in Buffalo. And I said, you know what? To make this happen for the 4th of July, I need to quit my job and focus on it full time. So 3 months ago, I quit my job to focus on this 100%. So the response has been great the last couple months. Gotten a lot of media attention in Buffalo, in my hometown. And a huge facet of this, too, is the Folds of Honor Foundation. So I figured if I'm going to do this, I believe in giving back. I think everyone should give back a little, whatever your cause is. And I did not serve in the military, but I come from a fairly military family. My dad was he was in Vietnam, and my 3 uncles, I have Vietnam-era uncles who served as well. I have a cousin recently who was in Afghanistan. He's still a reservist. And my 2 grandfathers were World War II veterans, and those guys are part of the greatest generation. And the more I read about those guys, the more I appreciate that generation. And I'm lucky enough that my one grandfather is 86. He's still alive. He served in the Navy in 1946 in the Pacific. As I think he snuck in when he was 17, but he's still alive today and tells me about leaving San Francisco as a 17-year-old and hitting the Pacific. So, Folds of Honor Foundation is it was started in 2007 by a gentleman named Dan Rooney, who was a major in the Oklahoma Air National Guard, and he was on his second tour coming back from Iraq, and he was sitting in a plane, and unbeknownst to him, as the plane landed, the pilot said, "Please remain seated." And what it was is there was a handful of service people in caskets, draped with flags, underneath the plane. And he couldn't believe people were getting out of their seats. A lot of disrespect going on. So in his mind, he was looking out the window and he saw some family members waiting for their loved ones who were killed in the line of duty. So he thought to himself, I'm sure there's a lot of people that were dependent on these men and women that have come back. And so what about their families? What about their children? So he started the Folds of Honor Foundation. And what it is they provide financial and scholarship assistance to spouses and children of wounded, disabled, and service people killed in the line of duty. So just some quick statistics. These last two conflicts, Iraq and Afghanistan, we've got 60,000 disabled or killed service people here in the United States. So it's a huge issue for us, supporting those families. So that's why I try to give back. $1 for every online sale goes to the Folds of Honor Foundation. And ironically, too, when it comes to service people, the average number of dependents per service person is 2.5, which is almost 0.5% more than the national average. So what I'm saying is that these service people who come back in a casket or come back disabled, in general, have more dependents. So, these people, these wives and children need to be taken care of. So that's what we try to get back to.
That's very nice.
Yeah.
And it's very appreciated. Could you tell us your website and how to get a hold of you? And,
Sure.
and by the way, you can see these T-shirts here on the video at the Military Exchange Talk Show on YouTube and on our website. And they're going to be for sale here at the Military Exchange in Canandaigua.
Sure. The name of my store, the web store, is Frankie, Frankie, ScottUSA.com. That's the website. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Twitter. There's a couple stores in Buffalo, too. I know your signal reaches Buffalo. Aurora Outfitters in East Aurora and Basics Clothing Company at the Southgate Plaza carry us as well. So,
great. And I appreciate your motivation. And by the way, you don't have to be military to be a patriot.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
All right.
Thank you,
Appreciate
sir.
it.